Hello friends, this is SKillous. I've just played an amazing series against Bian, the series that I'm very proud of, and that's the reason why I actually record this video. What makes it extra spicy is that this series was played on Vardy's balance test mod. Not only it's played on new balance test mod, but it's also played on the brand new map pool that we're gonna see in the next competitive season. So I hope for you guys it also will be interesting to maybe explore this new map pool a little bit. First map is Side Delta. It was Bian's map pick. And on the bottom right side of this map, I spawn as Blue Protoss. I think it's worth pointing out that I made a small preparation for this tournament. I watched all of the Bian games from the last couple of days, and I have noticed the pattern in it. I've noticed that on almost every single one, Bian goes for a eBay block, and because of that, as you can see, I am blind countering it. I am not scouting right away, and I just save my prop a little bit, and on 17th supply, I just go down and check if there is an eBay block. And this way, this is like the best response possible to an eBay block, and it does put me in a very comfortable situation. So I put my Cyber down, I put my Nexus down, and my Pylon. So for me, this game is pretty much standard at this point. Also, don't forget that I skipped my Scout, right? So because of that, I also got a little bit more money. And at the same time, I also countered my opponent's strategy perfectly, right? So after that, my next thought was, okay, so I dealt with this eBay block perfectly, and generally, if we talk about eBay block, there are usually two follow-ups. First follow-up is probably the most general one, is Helions and Helion drop, but this follow-up is obviously not very good if your eBay block was deflected that easily. It's better if Protoss, for example, didn't react to it in time and decided to put his second Nexus on the third location. Then Helions are extra good. And the second option is 3-Racks, because this, once again, it benefits a lot if your base is misplaced, and also, I guess the flow of the build is just nice. And I was almost certain that Bian gonna choose the second strategy, not only because, as I said, it's one of the variants, but also because he really likes the strategy. And in most cases, he actually goes for it. So because of that, once again, I'm countering him a little bit, and instead of going for Twilight or Robo, like I usually do, I go for Robo, and I also went for a Sentry at the same time, so I can actually scout what my opponent plan is going to be. Because Robo generally is not the best choice in PvT. Yeah, it sounds good that you can get Colossus early on, but to be honest, at the same time, it does feel a little bit hard to deal with certain types of pushes. Sometimes it's also hard to deal with certain variants of drop plays. And because of that, I decided to go for a Scout first with my Sentry. I confirm that this is indeed triple Racks play, and only after that I put down my Robobay. I also go for a double gas, I go for battery, I also send one, and the only observers that are gonna produce across the map. I also decided to go for Immortal. I don't think there is the right solution in this situation, because generally I think you should be able to hold two base push like this even without Immortal, but I just really like to have it later into the game when I already have my Colossus, because it just helps so much against Marauders. I don't know, you guys probably saw it multiple times when you actually have Colossus and there are a lot of Marauders in your opponent's army. It's so easy to lose it if you don't have a good damage output that Immortal provides. So go for 2 batteries, I go for my first Colossus, because actually if you play fast Colossus like this, it was maybe not the fastest one, but one of the fastest ones possible anyway. You're still very vulnerable to first attack, because first attack actually arrives around 5-minute mark, and as you can see, my Colossus is actually halfway done. So because of that, I'm still very careful and staying on my ramp. I also was ready to force field the ramp with 2 sentries I've just warped in, so only after my first Colossus is finished, I will be able to actually take my third base. So at this point, my plan was very simple. I'm taking a third base, I'm going for Colossus, but at the same time, I'm not really trying to switch things up in terms of tech, because I actually was trying to maybe catch Bian off guard a little bit and go for a very powerful attack without Twilight and Forge, but with a lot of gateway units and Colossus. So this was my plan, but in order to do that, I actually wanted to confirm first that my opponent is not going for tanks, because if my opponent is going for tanks, it's actually going to be very annoying for me to push, and it's better to play Twilight Forge, although it would be probably bad. And as you just saw, I actually confirmed that this is indeed tank play, and because of that I resume my prop production. I stop warping in units non-stop, and I just to try to defend my base. Okay, so this was very annoying. I don't know if you can see, but there is a hole technically, but Colossus don't want to go there. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And like, it honestly made me pissed a little bit. But yeah, I just realized that I guess the only entrance is where my pylon is, so I was like, okay. And at this moment, drop arrives, but maybe it was even lucky for me, you know, that this Colossus were out of position. To be honest, I'll probably split my army anyway if I thought that, yeah, if I wouldn't be so busy microing my Colossus. So in the end, I actually lose quite a bit of probes, 11 probes go down, and to be frank, I don't think this is the best situation I could be in, because my tech is quite poor, right? I only got Robobay. I also, my economy is not the best, right? Yes, I have 3 Nexi, but my opponent probably also have 3 command centers, and the only advantage pretty much is my Colossus count, and Colossus count is actually quite huge. Here I was lucky enough to scout his attack on time, so I move out. The most important thing when you deal with any kinds of tank pushes like that, you always have to meet them before they arrive to your base, because if you let Terran siege your base and kill your siege battery, kill your batteries with siege tanks, this is pretty much game over, right? So because of that, I was like, okay, I have to meet his army. And after that, after I moved out, I still double checked if he's coming back or not. I saw that, and after I saw that my opponent is coming back home, I was like, okay, there is no way I can actually push, and I actually commit into a very late Twilight Forge switch. My army supply is still very high, my economy is still decent, so I'm like, okay, if I don't think I can actually play like a fully macro type of game, I thought that my best plan now would be to get as much army as possible on 3 bases. So I'm not rushing into first base at all. Although usually in PvT you would probably see Protoss players get their first base around 7:30. But in this game I was like, okay, there is no way I can protect my base from incoming attack, and because of that I will just stay home and I will get as many units as possible here. I see that his tanks are actually quite far away. I take this fight with a lot of force fields. I think it was somewhat alright, especially for the fact that I don't have any Twilight upgrades right now. And that was the reason pretty much why I took this fight, because I knew that, okay, I can't allow my opponent to siege near my base. I have to take a fight, and the better fight I can take, obviously, the better for me. And I just need to win time until my charge is done. So at the same time, I have a prism on the opposite side of the map. I also got quite a good observer that spots for my opponent's army. Actually, this observer is extremely crucial, because it simply shows me any sorts of movement for my opponent, and also it's located in a very unusual spot, so for my opponent it's also quite hard to spot. And at this point, when I got my charge ready, when I got my attack upgrade ready, I also managed to spend all of my gas almost. I was like, okay, probably a good moment to take my force. I also can transfer probes from the main base. And I also understood that this is probably my power spike. This is probably going to be the best moment when I can attack. And that's what I do, meeting my opponent in the exactly same position. I kill a lot of ghosts, I kill a lot of bio, but unfortunately I have to retreat because there are still a lot of tanks. I think generally it was not the worst fight once again, but unfortunately my War Prism died because I guess he expected me to have a War Prism like this with such a quick robo, with a very long time when I could produce my robo units. So this was very obvious, I guess. I'm going for +2 attack. This is the best upgrade for Portos units. It's very good for Colossus, obviously very good for Archons. Once again, I meet my opponent at the exact same position, and this is once again the perfect fight. I have 5 Archons, no Ghosts, and I also meet tanks at Siege, so I simply destroy my opponent's army. I think it was one of the only possible engagement I could win, and this is exactly what happens. I destroyed all of the expensive units, right? I killed Ghosts and I killed tanks, and without it, it's so hard for Terran to deal with Archons. Like, Archons are very weird in this matchup. They are very good against Terran without Ghosts, and they are so bad against Ghosts because you can just EMP all the shields. And because of that, I strike. I understand that this is probably going to be my best moment to attack, and unfortunately, at exactly this moment, 3 Ghosts pop out, and I just lose my two of my Archons right away. But fortunately for me, there were no more Ghosts, so keep taking this fight. I started to trade with SCVs a lot, which is a very good sign usually, when you can kill the SCVs and at the same time you're not losing too much. Because obviously, I mean, it's fair for any race, right? If you kill their economies, they can produce more units, and if you don't lose your whole army and your army is still quite good, right? It will be better for you. So right now I'm just trying to retreat, and with help of this War Prism I actually make it happen, because it's very hard for him to, without killing the Prism, to attack into my units, right? I have 10 extra Zealots, and I also have a lot of micro potential for my Archons and Immortals. I keep producing Colossus, and at this point I realize, okay, I kill a lot of economy, so the best thing I can do is just keep pushing, keep applying pressure to my opponent. My core army comp is obviously Colossus, because my opponent has no Vikings, I killed them all, and Zealot and Archons. So this is pretty much the best army I can get, because no way my opponent can get all of these expensive tech units without economy that he just lost. At base I still keep macroing. I think I built a little bit more probes, but I'm not going crazy on it, because it's also very dangerous if you, in this kind of situation, when you build too many probes and your opponent just max out somehow, you know, like you don't manage to kill him and he just max out, and your army simply becomes too weak to fight. So because of that, I'm trying to avoid this situation, and I'm not really going crazy on my probes. Yeah, you can say that I'm building like a 5th base against 3 base Terran, but in reality my main is mined out, my second base is also mined out, and I'm just trying to transfer all the probes I have not efficiently mining to the fresh bases. I also established some map control with pylons, also good. At this point I just want to lock the game, and I don't want anything weird to happen, and I know that if I will do that, and if at the same time I will spend all of my resources, it will be very hard for Beyond to come back into this one. I attack into this first base once again, because once again this is the richest base he has. And I take another fight. Archons actually don't die right away, so they deal a lot of damage. Colossus keeps striking. Maybe not the best shots, because as you can see 2 Valis went to CC, but I still microed my Colossus. I have Immortals, I have Stalkers that deal quite well with Marauders that are left, and I just once again find a very good fight, but my opponent starting to lose more and more units. At this point I just realized, okay, wait. I don't want 5 Marauders with Medivacs to kill my Colossus, so I have to be careful. But at the same time I still managed to lose two of 3 Colossus I had. So I was like, okay. I don't have to rush it too much. Let's just regroup. Let's transfer the rest of the props that are not mining properly. Because once again, yes, maybe I lost some of my tech units, but my point once again is even more broke than he was before. Because once again, I denied his first base from mining, I killed a lot of SCVs, and I once again reset his tech army comp. So once again, I keep warping Zealot, Archon, more Colossus, more Immortal. I also got a second Forge. And right now my upgrades are 3-1, which is extremely strong. I tried to make a drop play, because usually it's very good to make a drop play in order to finish the game against Terran, but I was like, okay. Marine spotted me, let's just go. Let's just go in front. Let's just split some Zealots to production, to his second mining base, and as you can see, his army is just not competitive enough, so I keep getting through, and Jan, GG's. First game goes in my pocket. Let's jump into the second one. Second map is called Oceanborn. You could probably see this map a couple of times on my channel already. I uploaded a couple of YouTube highlights on this map. I think this might be my favorite map of the map pool. I don't even know why, because I don't think this map has any strong features, you know, but it just feels nice, you know. It's just like a good macro map. I guess it's fair to say that it's quite balanced for all the races. I don't think it's like very unbalanced. And this game, I decided to go for the same approach. I was like, okay, I saw that Bjorn really likes his eBay block, and it might sound counterintuitive, but actually it's a valid strategy to do a build 2 times in a row, because your opponent already blind countered in game 1, right? So I was like, okay, it might happen again, so I'll do it again, and after all, I already have 1 game in the bag, so... I mean, there are very little build orders that can punish you if you don't scout at all. Like 2 racks, for example, and I was like, okay, Bjorn... I don't think Bjorn gonna go for proxy 2 racks. Against proxy 1 racks, Reaper doesn't change anything, because my build order is exactly the same, and everything else is fine. Except maybe double gas. That's what I had in mind, and I was like, okay. So he didn't eBay block me, he didn't scout me, so this does look a little bit suspicious. So I was like, okay. So first of all, of course, I'm going for Adept. Adept is the core unit, you always go for Adept. And after that, I once again go for a Sentry, because I simply just want to have a good scout on the map. And the adjustment I make, because I didn't scout, I just go for a blind battery, because I was, okay, so it might be something weird, you know, maybe it's like a late Proxy Marauder, maybe it's double gas. I wasn't like exactly sure, and because of that I'm going across the map with my Adept, because honestly it's not the best idea to go across the map with your Adept if you know that there is double gas build. And I was like, oh no, I see this, but at the same time I was like, okay. It happened, but at least I know that, you know? At least I know that. At least I have battery in time, so I was like, okay. I just lost my Adept. I don't have enough units to hold, so let's just make 2 batteries, and I will try to survive until I get 2 batteries. And also, I got quite a nice setup here on the second base. Bjorn sees it. He sees that he can't really achieve anything with his units at the second base, and bam! A perfect force field. Locks the units in place, damage them, props can't die because of the battery. Absolutely perfect defense. Yes, I lost my scout, but at the same time, what can happen, right? I already saw a lot of 3% Helions, like, maybe like a Widow drop later on, but I don't really need to scout to deal with Widow drop, so I was like, okay, sure, amazing. On the main base, I also have a battery, and now I see that the things are even better than I thought. He actually went for 4 Reapers, 2 Helions, which is a very big commitment, so I was like, okay. He went for so many units, and he didn't kill a single prop, right? Yes. Only damage he got is 1 force field, 1 Adept. So like, this is probably the best scenario ever. Like, this is something that I could dream of, and because that, yeah, I'm very happy. So I go for Robo, because once again I don't want to get surprised with some kind of quick, maybe armory with a mind drop, or maybe some benches. So I was like, okay, let's go for Robo. And also my plan was that, okay, I will also go for Colossus, because in this patch, Colossus actually should be quite good, since it's so hard for Terran to get Matrix, right, on Draven, because you actually need a separate upgrade right now, and this is a very big difference. And I was like, okay, Colossus is probably my tech of choice. I come with my hallucination. I see that his setup is actually not 3-1-1 but 1-1-1. So I'm like, okay. So this probably makes me believe that he's actually going for a tank push. At the same time, a Widowmine drop with 4 Marines comes to my base, but it's not as scary because I have a battery, but still manages to kill a sentry, still manages to kill 6 props, but combined with a very solid defense at the start of the game, and also the fact that my opponent invested a lot, right, and he delayed his second base as well because he was playing 2 gas. I was like, okay, this is fine. Like this, of course, it would be better to avoid it, but already so many things went great for me, so I was like, okay, I don't need to panic. Let's just keep playing, keep warping units. So when you play against tank push, it's very important to meet your opponent's army with your blink stalkers. But at the same time, I left some of the stalkers at home in case if there is a liberator, and this was very likely, right? I saw that after Medivac there was another unit producing in the starport, and because of that I left 2 stalkers on my main base and 2 stalkers on my second base. And as you can see right now on the minimap, there is actually a liberator coming to my second base, and I obviously deflected it perfectly because of the scout I got, and I also go for a Colossus right now. So now I see that, okay, against this push, the main thing I have to do is survive until I have my first Colossus, because even if I have 1 Colossus without range, it's so easy to defend against Marine tank push, because obviously he won't have any steam on combat shields or marauders or anything like that. So I just need to kill Marines, and Colossus even without range are absolutely perfect against it. Also another very good thing that happened, I managed to kill his tank. Yes, I lost a couple of stalkers at the same time, but it was honestly not the big deal. Also Medivac tried to connect, but I was very quick to react with my stalker from the main base. I got my first Colossus out, also a bunch of stalkers, so now I just blink in into tank, I focus it like that, and Colossus do the rest. Also Liberator, I guess he F2'd his army, I also kill the Liberator, and now I'm like, okay, I have all the freedom in the world. On the minimap, you can also see that there is 3rd CC for my opponent, so because of that I'm not scared of anything at all, so I boost all of the probes, I get all the tech I want, I get all the gateways I need, and I'm actually brave enough to be on my opponent's part of the map, because I understand that, okay, I killed so many units, my opponent's steam pack, combat shields, upgrades are super late, Medivacs are super late, so because of that I just allow myself to be on the map and be aggressive. Now I see that, okay, he actually got a couple of Medivacs, a couple of Marauders, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't risk with my Colossus. So send my Colossus back, and Stalkers stay here, and try to poke my opponent a little bit. Don't forget that every steam that Terra makes is pretty much damage, right? So, of course, when we talk about like 10 Medivacs, or maybe Medivacs is a new upgrade that's gonna get introduced in this patch, it won't be as much of a problem, but when the Medivac count is low, I think it's very, very, very important to force steams out of your opponent, because if your opponent is even steamed 1 extra time over like what it's supposed to be, right, in the fight, it can make a major difference. So I keep being active on the map with my stalkers. I also don't want to miss a drop, so I built some pylons to spot for it on the map, and also with stalkers I'm trying to maybe intersect like Medivac, or maybe see my opponents move out. Here I was like, okay, maybe he's moving out and I can base trade his 3rd base, but it wasn't the case. I'm just running away. I confirmed it with my stalker, because it would be very awkward if he actually would turn back. And in this game, once again, I follow the same tactic. I go for Colossus Archon. To be honest, I think generally it's just a very good way of playing against Beyond, because against some Terrans who can play like passively and who can sit at their base forever, it's maybe not the best way. of doing things, because if you invest a lot into Archons, they're just gonna camp, they're gonna max out on a very good quality army, and they will just kill you. But against Bian, who is always aggressive, it's so good. And as you can see, once again, I take a good fight. I see that my opponent's Viking count is quite low, so my Colossus can do a lot of damage. I focus fire with my Colossus to my opponent's bio units. Stalkers are also taking care of Vikings. Maybe it wasn't the most brilliant engagement against the bunker, but I still regroup my forces. I keep focusing down the Vikings, and Colossus are simply not dying, right? And they do a lot of damage, and just like that, I take the second game. And let's jump into the next one. Third map of our series, called Hecate. I'm sorry if I pronounced it wrong, because it's a very unusual name for me. In this, of course, I'm already very happy, because I have a 2-0 lead against one of the greatest turns on the planet. And I'm like, okay, let's try to make a clean sweep. It would be so cool. In this game, I actually decided to scout. I checked for an eBay block, but to be honest, it wasn't exactly it, because I think my scout was a bit too quick to spot for it. Maybe against like some kind of very quick one, but the main purpose of this scout is to scout as late as possible, but still to be able to check everything my opponent is doing, pretty much. Because usually you scout against after gateway, right? But if you scout after gateway, you still waste a little bit of money, and it's a little bit too early, but in return you can harass your opponent's economy for a little bit, so it's not without return. And I think it's fair to say that this is a matter of preference, and in this case my preference was to save a little bit of resources and scout later on. At base, my build is completely standard. I went for 20 Cybernetic Core, 20 Nexus, 20 Pylon, Adept, Warp, nothing really out of ordinary. In this patch, I've been a very big fan of Twilight opening in general. I think it's very, very, very powerful. Stargate is also fine, but at the same time, I don't know. It's hard for me to judge, right? Like if I want to judge, I need to play way more games. So this time I just decide to go for Twilight again. Once again, I go for Sentry. I think it's a great opening, and also, yeah, I think it's good against Beyond, because Beyond likes 3 CC, he likes 3 racks, and if you scout this build early enough, I think in most cases it's actually maybe not a free win, but you can put yourself in a very good situation. So I arrive with my Adept. I see that there is a CC, no bunker, my opponent is very greedy, and I see a Helion. So Helion is a very big tell, because Helion came out at 255, which is a very early timing. Usually if your opponent is playing, let's say, Reaper Marine Factory, which is considered the most standard build order of PvT, Helion gonna pop out around 310 maybe, so you're gonna see it 315, and this time it was 20 seconds earlier, and because of that I realized that, okay, so this is probably a Marine Factory Reactor play. So my opponent skipped Reapers, he skipped Reactor as well, because you can also play Marine Reactor, right? And I know that he invested a lot of resources in an earlier factory, right? I mean, maybe it's not fair to say that he invested a lot of resources, but I guess this build order is a little bit less safe. As you can see, he skips the bunker. Yeah, I think you can say that this is greedy. I come with my Phoenix, and I pretty much confirm all of what I just said. There is a very quick factory. Already something is in production on the Starport Racer Tech Club, which obviously is Raven. And I see that a very quick Medivac arrives. Mine, also some Marines. I focus down the Widow Mine, so it's actually quite low on the hit points. And I keep chasing the Medivac with my Stalkers. A very good defense. I didn't lose a single prop, I think. Maybe I lost one, okay. Lost one prop, but I managed to kill a Widow Mine, and without Widow Mine this drop is not scary at all. I just can leave like 4 Stalkers at home, and it will be able to deal with this Medivac without any problem. I once again go for Robobay. My blink is almost complete. I'm not really boosting it anymore because at this point I already deflected the first attack of my opponent, and as we know, it's not very useful outside of dealing with first attack, right? And I also scouted with my hallucinations that it's not a build from second game, and it's actually a 3-Rax play, right? Probably with Raven, and because of that I go for Robobay, I go for 6 gateways, I go for charge, I don't really warp any extra units because I want to focus on my economy and everything. And here I see a very weird move out. Like, okay, let's go for battery. To be honest, like the idea of hold will be the same, right? I will just try to meet my opponent's units with my stalkers first, survive until battery and get first Colossus. Here I also decided to get a battery. Probably would be better to get it earlier, so I don't die to this one random Raven harass. Beyond didn't focus fire my probe, so I actually didn't lose a single probe. Maybe I lost one, but this is a very good result. I didn't lose stalkers as well. My stalkers are bruised but not dead, which is the most important part. They're gonna regenerate their hit points, I mean shields, afterwards. Okay, here I confirm that my opponent is still here, and I was like, Beyond, are you sure you want to be here? My Colossus is almost done. My charge is almost done. Are you sure you want to lose your units before you actually get your Steam, Combat Shields, Medivacs, Marauders, and everything? I was like, let's just maybe jump on it. I have a battery overcharge, right? So I can always pull my Colossus back in the range of battery overcharge. I focus down tanks. Beyond tries to focus down the Colossus, but it doesn't die because I have batteries. I even have 2 at the back and clear all the tanks, so it's not a threat anymore. And once again, I feel very good about my early game. I feel like this once again was not the best attack. Maybe we can check the losses. Losses were quite even, but to be honest, this amount of grit I had, which was like a lot of tech, right? I got Robobay, I got a lot of gateways, I got charge, I got quite a bit of stalkers, I also got some sentries. I was very happy with the defense and with the strats. I also see that there is something weird happening on my base. I'm not sure what he was hoping for, but I guess maybe he thought I'm blind or something, but it didn't work out. Medivac is dead. A couple of stalkers are dead as well, but if I can trade 2 stalkers for Medivac, I will take this trade every time. Once again, I go for Templar Archives because, as I said, I believe that this is so far the best style against Beyond, who is very aggressive, who is always in your face. Torch is done. I go for the second one. This one, I decided, okay, it probably was a good defense, but I don't think I'm ahead enough to reliably kill my opponent with a push. And because of that, I decided to go for a second Forge and play more for a macro game. I still go for Templars and Archons, but I won't be as crazy on them. So I will invest more resources in expensive tech units and expensive upgrades. So with my observer, once again, that Beyond didn't spot, I see that he moved out, and because of that, I sent 5 zealots to harass his SCVs, maybe bring his army back. At the same time, I don't want to get out of position, so also some sentry energy was spent on the hallucination. To be honest, here it was a very awkward situation because I see that his army is under anti-armor missile for some reason. I'm not sure what happened there, but there was also 3 tanks and I had no zealots because I sent all of them across the map. I feel like I could maybe engage into this army if I would have the zealots, but I didn't. So I was like, okay, I guess I have to sacrifice my base. What can I do? Let's just try to max out again. And as you can see, this situation doesn't look good. Yes, I can kill 10 ACVs, but oh my, I'm still behind, right? Like my opponent is in my face, preparing a siege. So I decide to pounce. I kill these tanks, but at the same time, Beyond managed to squeeze a drop in onto my main base. I start to lose probes rapidly. I also lost pylons on my production structures. I can't warp anything. And at this point, I was like, okay, maybe I can't really win this game anymore because it honestly felt very bad. I once again have a prism. I was like, okay, so I guess what can I do? I still have to get more units. I have to make something happen with my counter attacks, defend against all of his attacks. Hopefully fortunately my split is actually quite good. So I deflect the attack on the third base, I deflect the attack on the main base. Also my counter attacks managed to cancel the CC. I found already 4 SCVs, which is not bad, and all the units came back home. So this was definitely a good moment for me in this game. I also got my prop count back, but I still feel very vulnerable to his potential drop and harass plays because it's so hard to take a force base against Terran when you're actually behind. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can carefully take this base if my opponent is on his third base. I also transitioned to Disruptors, but in this patch I honestly don't really like Disruptor as much, and I'm trying to avoid making them as many as possible. I think it's still left to debate, and I mean, the game would be too easy if you could just realize in the first day of the patch, right, what is good, what is bad, but at this point, I think that it's probably better to delay your Disruptor production or maybe get like 6 of them, but I really don't feel like playing 10 plus Disruptor style like we did in the past. I think it's not very good, and I think it's better to go for more complicated army with Immortals, Colossus, and all of that good stuff. So I went for 2 Disruptors, went for Prism again, and right now I just wait for my upgrades to finish. I don't think Bjorn has enough Vikings here, right? Only 2 Vikings. I have 3 Colossus, so this is a very good advantage I have. Obviously, my army is probably not good enough, but Colossus, they really make a difference. So because of that, because I saw that my opponent has very little Vikings, I'm like, okay, so you have no Vikings and I always have +2, maybe it's a good moment for me to attack. I was like, yes, sure, I go for it. To my realization that this is actually going to be a base trade. I come to this realization at the same time Bjorn strikes into my army with his secondary army. Actually, this fight went very good because I had my War Prism, I microed my Colossus back, so it was a good trade for me. At home I tried to defend with my Disruptors. To be honest, this is a rookie move, like I shouldn't have done that because this is a move that you would make against 5k opponent, you know? Like opponent who is considerably worse than you and you expect them to not micro their units, but Bjorn is Bjorn, so he was on point and he actually microed his units, killed my Disruptors, and because of that I lost very expensive units that I didn't really want to lose. But at the same time, my army is still very powerful and I still know that my opponent has not enough Vikings to fight me. And I decided to go straight into the production because this is the best I can do right now. I micro my Colossus to target down the Marines. Don't hit the barracks and the Marauders, of course. Also kill all the tanks, and this trade was once again very good. Also 2 of my Archons actually survived on the low health. I didn't really pay too much attention, but I guess there was not enough ghosts. And I also killed the second base of my opponent, and now I found a third base and the main base that I can also kill with my Archons in Stalker. So this leaves my opponent on 0 orbitals, no production. I also killed all the supply and my army now looks very terrifying actually. I have 3 Immortals, I have I think 2 Colossus left, 4 Stalkers, so I have some anti-air against the Medivacs. So I'm like, okay, so maybe I can just play a macro game and I can just expand here, get Dark Shrine, which is a very good tech against in base rate, right? Because yeah, like of course, if your opponent has no orbitals but has ghosts, it's not as useful. But ghost energy is also limited, right? And if by any chance your opponent loses ghosts, you can actually win the game straight up. So that's why my tech of choice was Dark Shrine. This is rule number 1. So if you play a base trades with Protoss, just go Dark Shrine if you can. Was also a little bit of F2 for my opponent. Managed to kill his leap, which is also nice. I also left one zealot on my opponent's main, so I finish all the supplies. Unfortunately, this Liberator managed to find it, but it's fine. I see that my opponent's army is split, so I'm like, okay, maybe I can catch half of it, but no, I'm like, no, wait. Let's just go back, because I don't think I'm ready to fight now. And also I have 3 batteries. I have battery overcharge potentially if my opponent doesn't snipe my Nexus. I have a Dark Shrine. I don't have to be stupid. I killed almost all the production. I killed orbitals. And there is maybe like 1 CC left. I'm not even sure if it's upgraded. So I'm like, let's just be careful and see it home. At this time, my opponent attacks me. He sent the Liberator in, but I was also quick enough to react with my main army. I activated battery overcharge. So this move out, I don't think worked as intended. Maybe I think he wanted to distract me with Liberator for me to react on it and at the same time pounce and maybe kill my Colossus and run away. But instead he had to commit in a proper fight. As a result of this proper fight, I think I lost both of my Archons. I lost one of my Immortals, but my 2 big boy Colossus are still alive. Now I actually found his CC, and so okay, it actually just finished morphing in, and you have no SCV, so I'm like, maybe I just don't need to do anything. I just have to wait my opponent to attack into me. And at this moment I actually feel very, very confident, because I have 2 Immortals and I have 2 Colossus, and I also have Stalker, so everything in the game is actually covered, right? I have anti-bio units, which is Immortals and Colossus, and I also have Stalkers that can kill anti-air. My opponent decides to dive on me when I have no battery overcharge, when it's on cooldown. I have 1 Zealot, 2 boss Immortals go down, also Colossus goes down, and second one almost goes down, but he managed to get it, but I just had right enough units to kill all the bio forces of my opponent, and I still have DTs on the map, right? And at this point I'm like, so like when I saw that I was like, are you tilted, my friend, or what's happening here? Like, why are you sacrificing your units? Honestly, I actually didn't know what was happening here. I thought he was tilted or something. I know I'm stupid, but you know, like, it's not very often when you play games like this. So I was like, okay, maybe you're tilted and you don't want to leave. So I'm like, okay, let's, you know, like these people who are like tilted and they don't leave the game and fly to the corners of the map. I was thinking maybe Bjorn is one of these, so I'm going for this target because of that. And once again, find his orbital. I see that there is no mining. Like, okay, I guess something's happening. So I'm just macroing and I'm just taking up, spend my money. Yeah, like I don't really have anything in mind. I'm like, okay, I guess let's try to kill some units with DTs. I see something pops out from the barracks with my DT. I see it's Marauder. I'm like, are you sure you can win with Marauder? Let's go for a Void Ray. And I also go for a cannon. Later I will show you why I can get this cannon actually. But I was like, okay, let's go for a cannon. Like I have a lot of resources, my opponent has nothing. Let's just try to be safe, I guess, because like my opponent is not doing anything. He's producing like Marauders, and I have Voider on the way. So I guess let's get a cannon. Maybe something stupid. And when the cannon is finished, actually Banshee comes in. I just kill the Banshee and the game is over like that. I really want to show you where this forge is. This is actually hilarious. Look at that. After the base trade, I have pylon left, and I have a forge left. Like this is literally the last structure I had. And not only is the only structure I had, it also has 84 hit points. And because of that, I managed to get this cannon. Of course, I probably wouldn't die even without cannon, because let's imagine if there is this bench and I have nothing, it's still only 2 Marauders, right? I have a battery and everything. So I don't think he can win the game with that, because first of all, I have too many structures to kill, and second of all, I can also produce an oracle. I don't think he can actually kill the pylons in time, especially since I still can. If he kills pylons, right, I will be able to reproduce more of them because I'm still mining. So I think it was still a very over situation, but this can definitely help. But that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope it was fun. See you next time. Bye bye.